Welcome everyone to the third in our Commercial Wednesday webinar series. It's my pleasure on behalf of the LIBOR Commercial Committee to introduce our Wednesday webinar presenter today, Teresa Belmore. Teresa has
Hi,
been
everybody.
in commercial real estate for over 35 years, certified in commercial and investment sales and CCIM. She's an investor and has been a member of a major consortium for several years that has over 500 million in assets. It's like my Matchbox car collection. That's what I think. Teresa is the creator and chair of the very popular workshop series, Women in Commercial Real Estate at HGAR. And she'll be vice chair of the NAR Commercial Leadership Forum and have served as vice chair and chair at NYSAR, Commercial Working Issues Group. Without further ado, take it, Teresa.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Mike. I so appreciate it. Don't worry, I'll pay you after, okay?
Out of the 500 million.
I just want to make a correction. I have a pending designation with CCIM. I'm almost there. I've conducted my sales. You need at least 30 million in sales. And I just need to go ahead and make sure I make sure that I complete all the tests. So that designation is pending. But having said that, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's so nice to see everyone and that everyone is on and interested in this topic. As Mike said, my name is Teresa Belmore. I'm better known as the Commercial Diva. I'm with Keller Williams Commercial Real Estate in Scarsdale, New York. And today we're just going to do an informal discussion and overview of the 411s of commercial real estate. We're going to talk about some of the current trends, challenges, and opportunities. Now, before we get into it, I just want to give a special thank you to Christine Dixon. She is the LIBOR Commercial Real Estate Dognon for Commercial RE. Gina Bettenhauser is the current president at LIBOR, and the newly installed CEO, Doreen Spagnolo. Definitely want to give a special thanks to all of them and the entire executive board and its membership for inviting me back to have this discussion. So let's begin the program. Go to the next slide. On the agenda for today, we can go to the next slide. On the agenda for today, first up, we're going to talk and understand the current trends that are going on in commercial real estate. Second up, we're going to learn about the opportunities that are in the current marketplace. And third, we're going to gain some insights into how to capitalize on those opportunities. Now, I know many of the realtors that have joined us today really specialize in residential real estate. I see no difference as far as I'm concerned. You have a license. You're licensed a New York State realtor to go ahead and serve and sell as well as buy commercial and residential real estate. You just need to have some of the tools that you would need in order to do so, some education, but here is an opportunity to gain some insight so that if you decide that you want to diversify your business, here's a way that you can go ahead and do it. So today we're just going to have a brief overview of commercial real estate, which aims to provide an insight into the current trends and current market trends and the various asset classes. Let's go on to the next slide. As you can see from the slide, this is the current state of commercial real estate today. You can enhance your investment portfolio by incorporating various different asset classes. The various different asset classes are either industrial, retail, multifamily, as opposed to in residential, you have the asset class of residential, but you do co-ops, condos, duplexes, multifamily as well, and those type of things. Is very different in commercial real estate because there are different asset classes. There's office, there's different grades of office. There's also a need currently right now to have more affordable housing options. So there's been a lot of talk. I know people have seen it in the news as well as seen it in the newspapers to convert some of those commercial spaces into affordable housing options. Buildings, office buildings that have been sitting vacant pre-pandemic and even post-pandemic right now are really not being utilized. And so I know the governor has put out a mandate that she wants to really push affordable housing. And the only way that to really leverage that is to utilize what we currently have and to convert it. And that's going to take place with a lot of different zoning that's happening in various different communities. And in order to get those particular sectors working and then having it into affordable housing. Some challenges that we face right now, as well as in commercial, as well as in residential, is economic uncertainty right now, the rising interest rates. We also have AI is everywhere. It's not only affecting residential, it's affecting commercial, but it's going to help and it's going to aid in your daily to-day businesses that you do. Let's go to the next slide. There's some trends. There's some trends that are happening right now in the current marketplace. Some of them are flexible workspaces. I know that people in residential have definitely heard of that. There's a technology integration that's going on. I just recently spoke about that on AI. And adaptive reuse. That's taking existing buildings and repurposing them for a totally different purpose. If you have, like I said, an office building and you convert it now into housing. There's also some challenges that we face in commercial real estate. There's economic uncertainty, as I said, the rising interest rates. We're up to number 2 there, Ethan. Thank you. Regulatory changes that are coming down the pike and increasing construction costs. Listen, they're not making land anymore. So unfortunately, we are in a position where we have to utilize what we currently have in place in order to meet the needs of our clients and customers. And last up, the opportunities that are available are industrial property investments. Think Amazon. Big industrial houses are now what's really driving the commercial market. Sustainable buildings, green and sustainable buildings. I know there's been a lot of talk as well from our NAR and NYSAR that the current gas conversion, that's going to be a major issue moving forward, especially with older buildings trying to meet the demands and the needs that are going to be placed on all of us. Commercial doesn't escape that as well. Another opportunity is property management. Many of us are maybe small investors and we dabble into multifamily, and we have a couple of houses either that we flipped or something that we're holding on to. The long-term gain here in commercial real estate is to play it long, not short. If you're looking to make something quick and to make it turn around, those trends aren't really moving forward, and that's not where the opportunities currently are. It's the long haul game. If you're holding on for a 7 to 10 year period, then you should do really, really well. If you're only in the 3 to 5 year period, then you're going to really have some difficulty. And also mixed use developments. Small buildings, small apartment buildings, nursing care facilities, assisted living facilities, housing for college students. Those are where the opportunities lie currently today in this current marketplace. Next slide, please. As you can see from the emerging trends in real estate, 70% is the demand for sustainable buildings is definitely on the rise. 25% is innovation is driving a bold new direction in terms of office space, because there are a lot of office spaces that they don't need those spaces anymore. If you had pre-pandemic a 10,000 or 15 or 20,000 square foot office space, because of the work and home hybrid, those no longer are sustainable. So that's why that number reflects that change in our marketplace. And as you can see, 50% is the growth of e-commerce. Again, think the things that you buy online. You could do food shopping online. You can buy your clothing online. Just about anything that you need is really done through e-commerce. Amazon.com, Prime. You don't really have to literally leave your house. Everything is really done in an online basis, and especially the rise in industrial real estate. Those numbers reflect the current state of the marketplace that we're in. Next slide, please. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, so I'm a small investor, or I like to get involved in commercial real estate, and I've been doing residential for quite some time. So it's going to depend on which particular market that you're in. But for argument's sake, let's stick with the New York State market. There are things that you can do to diversify your particular portfolio for yourself, or to advise your clients and your customers in order to do that, to sustain, to have some degree of sustainability within the current marketplace. As you can see in the commercial real estate sector, depending on the asset class, it's important to make sure that you stay ahead of emerging trends, or that you really follow a seasoned professional, so that this way you're well-versed if you want to invest yourself, or you're well-versed if you want to better advise your clients. Location. Just as in residential, location is a major crucial factor. And it also is a factor when making the decisions. It's important to consider factors as population growth, accessibility, and the local amenities in the particular market that you want to specialize in, or that you want to service as a realtor or advise your clients and or customers. Do research. Conduct research on existing market trends in economic sectors. In residential research and residential real estate, you would either specialize in a certain area of the market in order to know what homes are selling, whether it's luxury homes, co-ops, condos, duplexes, or multifamily. So do the research in order to know which particular asset class would benefit either yourself as an investor, or your clients or customers. And lastly, it's also vitally important, I want to stress this, to not only be educated. Just because you have a license and you think you can go out there and do it all, no. Shadow someone who has done it before, learn the market, specialize in one particular asset class, whether that's going to be office, whether that's going to be retail, whether that's going to be industrial, and so forth and so on. Once you master that particular asset class and you know the ins and outs, it's also imperative to be a responsible realtor, as well as to yourself as an investor, to assess the potential risk and returns associated with that particular investment. So far, does anybody have any questions? I believe we should have mentioned that if you had any questions in the Q&A, you can write in, and I'll be happy to answer anything or any questions that you may want to discuss at this point. We want to keep this very informal and just have a discussion. I'm here at your disposal to answer any questions that you may have. Does anybody have any questions thus far?
Okay, anything, Mike? Yet. Nothing yet.
None yet? Okay. Well, let's, oh, did I see, so somebody's just saying hello. Hello. So we can go on to the next one. A lot of people who want to get involved in commercial real estate always ask me, how do I begin? Where do I get some education? How is it that if I've been doing residential for, let's say, 5, 10, or whatever amount of years, and I now want to get involved in commercial real estate, maybe as an investor, or to better help my clients and or customers, here are some of the resources that you can utilize. And it's just a snippet. I do teach a class specifically for resi-commercial agents, and it's entitled, Why Aren't You Getting That Business? And you do get CE credits, and I go a little bit more in depth with that. So you might want to look into that. That's the first thing that I listed there. There's also, you can get involved with other commercial practitioners. There's the Global Real Estate Summit. I believe that that's on today and tomorrow. Is that right, Mike? Yeah, so you can get involved in that. I believe that there is this fee. I'm not exactly sure what that fee is, but there's your opportunity to go ahead and meet people in one room that covers a lot of different areas throughout New York State. That would be an opportunity for you to not only get yourself some education, but to meet the people who are doing the deals that you may want to do or get involved in, pick their brains, and to network. Those are your opportunities to go ahead and do that. Also, NICER, okay, NICER, NAR, LIBOR, and HGAR. These are all local associations that you are either currently involved with or would like to be involved with for a nominal fee. You're paying your dues. If you're using the MLS, you're already paying your dues. Go on and get involved. Ask for educational resources from any one of these sources. I know I'll speak from HGAR's perspective, we have several classes. The 4-1 with the basics of how do you get involved at HGR and commercial real estate. I believe also Christine Dixon, who's the liaison for the commercial real estate department here at LIBOR, also has various different resources. And I believe that there are currently or will be in the future several classes that specialize in commercial real estate. There's also the New York State Real Estate Institute. The American Real Estate School has several classes involving commercial RE. There's some upcoming Zoom classes. Again, I believe that these are nominal fees. I don't know them off the top of my head, but you can always get that information from Christine and or myself, or Google it, or ask anyone in your local association. There's an upcoming one that's taught by Ed Smith. He's teaching it at HGAR, and I believe he's doing the same at LIBOR. By the numbers, investing in commercial real estate. In order to get involved in this particular sector of real estate, it is very important because, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't understand the terminology, if you are not well versed, it can really amount to a lot of losses for you. So I always stress education to be the forefront of anything that you do. You know, you don't want to put all your money in a stock market and not understand what you're investing in. The same should be held here with your business of real estate, not only for yourself as an investor, but, you know, if you want to go ahead and service a client or customer who is interested or has an asset in commercial real estate. I see some things popping up, Mike. Do we have some questions? I can't hear you.
One was where would we find a class to join, but I think you answered that.
Sure.
And then, yes, Christine does have a wealth of information. And we also have a commercial event coming up on Friday in Melville.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Free to LIBOR members.
See, this is free. This is where you get to what I call diversifying your business. I think in the classes that I teach on the commercial overview, why aren't you getting that business for resi-commercial agents? Go to free seminars, go to free webinars. It's important that you know the basics so that you get to go ahead and to be as well-versed as you best you possibly can. I always like to use this analogy. You don't take all your money and put it in a savings account. You don't take all your money and put it in a checking account. You kind of diversify, whether you have a checking, a savings, a 401k, or CDs. You have some stocks. You have some diversification of your money. The same, I believe, principle should be done with your real estate career, because it's your career at the end of the day, whether you're an investor or we want to go ahead and or service some customers and clients. I see another question popping up. You're on mute, Mike.
How do we find commercial comps? From Deborah.
How do you find commercial comps? Okay, Deborah, I think one of the things, if you are not a commercial practitioner that has access to CoStar, Crexi, or LoopNet, those are like the MLSs, so to speak, for commercial practitioners. If you just have your normal association's MLS, you can use the feature RPR. I think everybody's familiar with that, the Realtor Property Report. Under there, you can go ahead, you can put in an address, I believe, but go under the commercial part, not the residential. When you go in, make sure that you designate, you distinguish between the two. You're not looking up residential properties, you're looking up specifically commercial properties. Then they may not all be there, but that's at least a free start for you. And you'll get some information where you can do some comparisons as though if you were doing a comparisons analysis on residential. So that's a free resource for you. If you need something a little more in depth, and you can speak to a seasoned commercial practitioner, because they're going to have that access. 9 times out of 10, they're going to have a Crexia, CoStar, or LoopNet account, and they'll be able to go ahead and get that information for you. Anybody else? Does that answer it?
Looks good to me. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, great, 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 great. Yeah, I mean, use the resources that you have. I would also say get out in the community. 9 times out of 10, listen, half of us live in apartment buildings. Why aren't you getting that business? I mean, if you're living in an apartment building, you're paying your money, or you know of an aunt or an uncle or a cousin who's going ahead and paying rent to a landlord. The 9 times out of 10, that landlord doesn't only own that one building. They probably own several more. Why aren't you the resource to go ahead and maybe be the conduit for that particular property, especially if you live in the building? But know the terminology. Get yourself some education first. If you frequent a coffee shop, which is a retail store, 9 times again out of 10, they not only own that one location, they're not only leasing that one location, they may be leasing in other different areas. You can definitely go ahead and make inquiries. There's no difference than when you're doing residential and you go to fairs, or you in the train station or whatever, or somebody is speaking about, oh, I mean, the market is really going down. I can't seem to, interest rates are going up. I can't seem to buy anything, or, you know, I'm being outbid. You are the conduit to make sure that you'll be able to help and service those folks that are looking for that. It's no different than in commercial. You got to do your work, though. You got to work the pavement. And that's how you make your connections. And more importantly, if you go ahead and you go to a lot of the free, it's not going to cost you, free seminars, webinars, that's going to at least give you the taste that, you know what, this is something that I can do. And then you kind of go from there. And then you specialize and master one particular asset class. This way, you're the go-to person for that. I see another question.
Yes. Can you just repeat the free sites for commercial real estate?
The free sites?
That's RPR?
Oh, yes, it's RPR. You can go on your MLS and you should be connected. There's a feature there that says RPR.
And then do you recommend becoming a member of your local chamber?
Absolutely. Listen, if you're not involved, especially in your community, they're going to be the go-to. Your community boards, I think, is a very good start. Community boards is very good. Your local chamber of commerce is excellent. Speaking to your local legislators is an excellent resource for you, because they're going to know firsthand what they need and what that particular section or area that they are affiliated in, that their constituents lives in, what's needed. You should be that go-to person. And more importantly, because the market is changing so much and affordable housing is such a driven mandate by the governor, it is beneficial to me, the way that I see it, that a residential agent not be involved. A residential agent absolutely must be involved, especially if they're turning over commercial properties and making them into affordable housing. Who knows better on the housing market than a residential agent? Any other questions? Anything you want to know about commercial real estate? There's like I said, there's upcoming Zooms that are coming on. Like Ed Smith has been teaching commercial real estate for so many years. I think he teaches some of the classes there at HGAR as well as LIBOR. Mike, you mentioned, and you want to mention again because I didn't put it on the slide, that you guys have an upcoming free. Is this a Zoom or is it
No, this
something?
is in person with
This is in
breakfast.
person. Okay,
I'm
even
gonna put
better.
the information in the chat right now for anyone that's interested.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. He also has the other one I didn't mention there. It says building your commercial real estate business. I think that that's fantastic for any residential agent who really wants to go ahead and wants to know the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s of how you go about getting involved in commercial real estate. The market is ever changing. I think for millennials now, who've got a real grasp on the AI chat GPT. I can't even get the words out. Future. This is going to revolutionize both the residential and the commercial business. Now, I understand that from NYSAR, they actually had a talk in the recent fall business meetings, I think was just a few weeks back. They talked about AI chat GPT and what our responsibility is to our clients and customers as realtors, and some of the things that we need to be cautious about. Log on if you have the chance and you have some downtime. Log on to nysar.com because all of that information, as well as the slides, I believe, is listed there. There also was a presentation that was done by someone who specializes in AI chat GPT and did an entire presentation. Now, I'm not exactly sure if that presentation has been downloaded, but it's definitely worth a look-see so that you can, add that to your repertoire. I think the well-versed that you are in real estate overall, because of the current marketplace and how things are rapidly changing, the better you are off as a realtor and an investor. And you're able to diversify, like I said, diversify your business to assist those clients and those customers.
I've got 2 more questions for you.
Let's go.
Number 1, can you talk about CCIM and the track you were on?
Okay, well, CCIM is a tough one because I'm still undergoing the process. But in essence, it's like having a specialty, and that you specialize in a certain amount of sales and or purchases, because I do both, and that you basically hone your craft in commercial real estate. And it's like, let's say if you were going to be a doctor, right? And you had a specialty in medical, just general medicine versus, somebody who does like a brain surgeon. You have to have a certain amount of skill set or demonstrate a certain amount of skill set in order to have that particular designation. It's no different, I think, in residential. You have the GRI series, where you go ahead and you specialize and you have demonstrated that you are well-versed in the marketplace of real estate. CCIM is no different. I think the minimum, I believe you have between 30 and 35 million. And then you have to be tested. You have to take a test. And all of those deals that you've worked on, whether it was purchases and or sales, will be scrutinized by a team of commercial real estate practitioners. And then you can go ahead and you can get your designation once you pass the test. Does that answer?
Sure. And then I have another question for you.
Let's go.
Do you need to have a certificate to practice commercial transactions?
Well, I'm going to tell you no. New York State law states that you have a license to practice to do real property. That includes commercial real estate. Now, I know that there are several of my commercial brothers and sisters who disagree with me, but that's what New York State law says. You do not need to have a separate certification or certificate in order to practice commercial real estate. Having said that, individual offices have the right, is part of their standard operating procedures, to distinguish whether they want you to either get another license to say that you specialize in a certain area, and or to designate that you are either a hybrid agent, whether you're doing residential part of 50% of the time and commercial the other 50% of the time. Again, you would have to adhere to the practices of your individual brokerage that you're affiliated or associated with. Is there any other questions? Or did that answer it? I would also add to that and say that, you know, it's important when you get involved in commercial, because you have a license to practice and sell real property, get educated. It is important. No one wants to sit across the table with a 20 or $30 million deal and you don't have a clue as to what you're doing, what you're talking about. More importantly, you don't want to get hemmed up in any kind of a deal and you are not well versed on it. You can cost your clients hundreds of thousands of dollars, and more importantly, you can ruin your own reputation. So you don't want that. This is your business. This is your career. You want to be able to excel and have the knowledge and the skill set in order to make sure that you are doing right by your clients and your customers, and or if you're doing this as an investor. If you're going to go ahead and purchase a car, for example, you're not just going to go to any dealership, put your money down and let the guy, you know, tell you whatever you want and you walk out the door and just drive the car. No, typically what people do, and this is just a small analogy that I'm using, typically what folks do is they research. They do their research. They find out what their wants and their dislikes are. They may arrange a test drive, and then they'll go ahead and they'll make their final decision. Well, I'll go and equate that to commercial real estate. You got, in order to take it for a test drive, you got to do some research. You do your research, you get yourself some education, you go and you shadow someone who's doing it. So this way it's like on the job training. So the information that you get, as well as attending commercial events, going to, educating yourself with webinars, or physically going and paying for classes so that you can add to your repertoire, will distinguish you from those who really just want to tap their toe or think that, you know what, I got a license, I know it all. My uncle owned a pizzeria for 100 years. I know how that works. No, you don't want to be that kind of a realtor. You don't want to do business that way. Any other questions?
Do you
Come
recommend?
on, I know you got the.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Do you recommend putting a team of experts in commercial transactions, such as attorney, lender, appraiser, environmental specialist, etc., together?
Absolutely. Just as in residential, it doesn't stop when you have the buyer's presentation, right? Or you're doing a seller's presentation. You form a team. You have a mortgage professional, you have an insurance professional, right? You have an attorney, right? You may have an inspector. There's several other teams of professionals that you need to have in place in order to execute the deal. There's no different in commercial. Commercial, you need to have a team of professionals, and it may extend even further because of the complexity of the asset class that you're either trying to sell or purchase or make an investment. So it's important that you have the right professionals all around you. And if you don't know, then ask, number one, before you get yourself involved. And you can't do it, you fake it till you make it. No, have stuff involved, because the money is a lot larger than what you would typically do in a residential deal. Overall, and there are some circumstances where it's not, but overall, the basic minimum commercial deal that you will do is $1 million plus. Now, most folks who are dabbling in residential real estate, unless you're doing the luxury market where 1 million, 2 million, 5 million is typical for you, in residential, you may be between the 400,000, maybe the 800,000 range. Since the money is much higher, the risks are much higher. And it's important in commercial that you don't want to have your client lose any money. and you don't want to ruin your reputation. So it is imperative that you get educated, that you put in your arsenal all the tools that you would need in order to have a successful deal. It's no different than what you do in residential. In order for the deal to close, you want to make sure that you have all of the professionals in place, because that's part of your arsenal in order to do that business. And the difference with residential and commercial, residential, let's say you're going to sell someone a house, and there's a first-time home buyer. They're not coming back within 3 years. Typically, they're not. They usually stay in as a first-time home buyer, you're usually staying in between 7-10 years, if that. And maybe they've outgrown that and they want to, upsize. Well, in a commercial deal, especially if you're doing it right, you have the right professionals around you, you're educated, you know your stuff, you mastered that particular asset class. That investor, that landlord, that purchaser, that seller is going to utilize your services to do deals, maybe not only here, but in other areas as well. So that's why education is so important. Mike, you have something else? I think I saw something.
I do. Where do you recommend a realtor go to learn about commission splits for commercial?
Okay, so New York State, I'm not allowed. I don't think anybody here is allowed. I'm not trying to lose my license to discuss commission splits.
Nice.
So I'm not going to be able to answer that, but I would suggest that you, in anything in regarding to commission, or you have any questions about that, those are things that you need to discuss with your broker, because each brokerage has their own standard operating procedures, better known as SOPs. More?
That's it. Oh, no. Why do people keep asking about commissions now?
We are not allowed, just so I'm going to cover this generally, we are not allowed to discuss commissions. I cannot do that. But what I will say, if you have any conflicting questions in your head or concerns of how does it work, these are the opportunities that you need to take and sit down with your broker and or manager of your office. If you have your own broker, your own independent broker, then you should kind of know this by now. But if you are, let's say, affiliated with a Keller or EXP office or something to that effect, these are the questions that you really need to sit down with the broker owner and or manager of that office and see what their particular policies and procedures are in place. We're independent contractors, but remember, it is the broker that holds our license. So you don't want to get in trouble here and start discussing about the money of things, because it's that broker that's going to be responsible, not the individual independent contractor. So you don't want to get yourself hemmed up here. You need to be very, very careful with that.
Good advice.
Yes.
Can you give us a short term of 1031 exchange, if that's possible?
That's a little difficult because they're all different. Again, you have to remember, you have to understand which asset class are you trading up. And typically, just an overview of 1031, and I don't teach 1031 exchanges, but I've done them. Is you are taking, let's say I'm selling, and these are all examples. Let's say I'm selling one of my apartment buildings and I want to go, I have a 6-story apartment building and I want to do a 20-story apartment building, so to speak. I would use the 1031 exchange in order to take the equity and or money that I sold in the first building and then transfer it over into the new building, but not pay taxes and divert that over into the second building. I'm in essence carrying from one asset class and all of the money that I made from one asset class into another bigger asset class without me having to pay taxes on that money.
And just go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just to back up, Teresa, we do have our October 4th Wednesday webinar was on 1031 exchanges. So I'm putting that link in the chat if anyone wants to watch the video from that. That's a good resource.
Absolutely. And you know what? They do give them free all the time. If you go to your local associations as well as NAR and NISAR, they have them all the time where you can go ahead, and it's free. It's free to go ahead and sit in these classes, and you'll learn everything that you need to learn in terms of a 1031 exchange. And they're very frequent and dominant within the commercial real estate industry. Investors typically want to divert paying taxes, so they'll put it into another asset class in order to not have to pay the taxes on the money that they made from one building to a next, or one asset to a next. So it is a very, very useful tool that investors utilize. But again, you got to get educated, and you got to know what you're doing, because you don't want to do things that will either cost you and or your clients money. I saw some other questions.
What commercial asset classes do you recommend for a new investor?
Now that's going to be tough, because my level of comfort may not be your level of comfort. I think that there's not a one size fits all approach. Learn what's comfortable for you. Think about, in terms of, let's say you have an extra $100,000 lying around, right? And you say to yourself, well, I want this money to grow, but I want to put a little bit in stock. I want to put a little bit in CDs, and then I want to take a little risk and do something else with it. The same methodology should be held with commercial real estate, but you got to know what you're comfortable with. If you want to start, your thing may not be getting involved with office buildings. If you want to start, your thing may not be, dealing with retail. If you want to start, you may want to jump into a smaller end and do multifamily. But again, your degree of comfortability, it may not be the same as mine. So I'm going to stress it again. Get yourself educated first. Find out what you're comfortable with, know the ins and outs, master it, and then you can determine as an investor, well, you know what? This is a comfort for me, and I'm going to put my money here, and I expect to see a return on my investment. I hope that answers.
Now you're all caught up.
I can just tell you when I got started, just so you know, and again, my trajectory doesn't have to be the same as yours. But when I got started, my family and I lived in the South Bronx. We all lived in the same tenement building. We purchased that tenement building, okay? And then we subsequently decided as a family that that was working for us. So multifamily kind of really led the foundation of where we are currently today. We then subsequently started to purchase other tenement buildings. As we got a little bit more educated, and we were more exposed to the different asset classes and investments that we could make, we diversified our portfolio. And from multifamily, we then got involved in industrial. Once we got involved in industrial, we also circled back and we did some retail. So our consortium that I'm a part of specializes, and we buy and we sell and we hold retail properties, multifamily, and industrial. Office we have not touched because it wasn't a part of the package that we were very interested in. And as you can see now, today, office has taken a really, really hard hit, to the point of half of them, especially downtown New York City, are sitting vacant. I don't know if anybody has maybe on the weekend taken a stroll into Manhattan, but you'll see a lot of vacant office buildings and a lot of vacant retail spaces because they can't sustain what was done pre-pandemic. Pandemic took a huge hit in the commercial marketplace, as well as residential. I mean, it's my understanding, and I'm not a residential specialist, so anybody want to correct me if I say anything wrong, please do. But there's just not enough inventory in residential, right, in order to meet the demands of the buyer. And so since there's not enough inventory and the interest rates are exceedingly so high, those sellers that are sitting on properties where they were paying 2 or 3% now, they don't want to sell them, because if they go ahead and they buy, their buying dollars won't take them as far, because now they have to go ahead and purchase something in a much higher interest rate. That doesn't benefit them. So they're kind of sitting on it, so to speak. And the buyers are in a quandary as do I overpay? Do I jump in the market now, or do I sit out and wait? I don't know what the answers to those are, but at some point, you have to play the long game. The short game doesn't work anymore. I don't think it's in residential and or commercial. It is definitely the long game. Are there other questions?
No, you are caught up.
I'm all caught up. Okay. So, I think what we want to just recap today is some of the trends that are going there, some of the challenges that we have. Obviously, I mentioned rising interest rates, things of that nature. Obviously, there's a shortage as far as affordable housing, but I think the opportunities are there for residential agents to get involved, especially in the areas where you service and where you live. If affordable housing is really driving this marketplace and that's of high demand, who better to meet that demand and to match it than a residential agent? And I'm not saying that commercial, practitioners can't do it, but they don't have, in my opinion, they don't have the day-to-day work that residential agents do to really meet their clients' demands and needs. And now that's changing. That is changing. The commercial agents are thinking up here, right? Big, bigger, more money. Well, now that's changing a little bit, because those big, bigger, more money asset classes have to be switched over to adaptive reuse to meet the demands of your everyday person. A residential agent should be able to handle that. And as long as you have the knowledge, the skill set, the education, and a specialty to do that, then I think that's going to take you long in the real estate marketplace overall. It's very important to diversify your business. It's very important to diversify your income. It's very important to be diversified, period, when you go ahead and you want to service your buyers and your sellers, because they not only own homes, some of them own businesses as well. You want to be that go-to guide for them. And it helps you as well. I mean, who doesn't want to, go ahead and have money in the bank and know that their families are well taken care of and that their investments are doing okay? It's not going to happen in the short term, but it's definitely going to happen for the long game overall. So is there any other questions that anybody has out there? Any information that I can guide you to, or where you can go, or what you can do? No? We want to just go to the next one, the final slide. So that is me. I am Teresa Belmore. That's all for today. This is my contact information. I absolutely love helping any agent that wants to get involved in commercial real estate. I'm very passionate about it. I've been doing it for a very, very long time. And I feel as though that, because we have such a diverse marketplace and things are continuously changing day to day, it is imperative that you go ahead and you diversify your business. And who better than to, link arms with than a residential agent? Things are changing rapidly. AI is taking over, and we want to make sure that we are armed, well, and suited, and we're up to the challenge to make sure that we can meet the demands of the current marketplace and better serve our clients and our customers. So that's my information. Feel free to email me or you can call me. Please, no text. No text, please. I'm not that savvy, but you can email me. That's my email address there, thecommercialdiva@gmail.com, or you can contact me. I have no qualms about, answering any questions or trying to, put you on the right path or guide you or sharing my resources with you, because I think that education is the best. The door was open for me 35 years ago, and this is my way to pay it back and pay it forward. And I think that this is imperative for anyone who's doing real estate today to be well versed to meet the challenges of the marketplace.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It has been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very
It
much,
has been a
Teresa. And
pleasure.
everyone, thanks for taking part.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me again. Please, I will have that class again. You do get CE credits, and that's much more in depth. Commercial overview. Why aren't you getting that business for resi-commercial agents? Please sign up for that. We would love to bring it back. All of the other resources that I had there for you guys, some of them are free. Please go to them, invest, ask questions. If you're part of the MLS and you're looking for to do comps on commercial, you utilize that resource. That you're paying for it. Utilize that resource. You can get reports, you can get information. Now, you won't get as much information that you would do on a CoStar, Crexi, or LoopNet, but at least that's a start. And let me say this before we go. There are free versions, I believe. I'm not sure, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, you can get on to CoStar, Crexi, and LoopNet and try to get comps there yourself as well. And those are free services. And the more in-depth or the more knowledge you get, your office may already have a paid-for account. Utilize that. Go to your brokers, go to your managers, and ask for it. If you don't ask, you don't get fed, right? So that's important to do that. Always follow your standard operating procedures of your office. Any commission splits or whatever, remember, we are not having that discussion here. Not on any of my platforms, we're not having that. But do discuss that and go over with your broker and or manager. That's very, very important. You don't want to lose your license. You don't want to get caught out there. And that's all I have for today.
Excellent.
Okay, I want to thank everybody. Thank you for having me. Again, this is my information. Please feel free to email me or contact me or myself. I'll be more than happy to answer and guide you anyway in the commercial arena.
Excellent.
That's all.
Yes. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, Teresa.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a blessed day. Be safe out there. Get some education and diversify your portfolio. There you go. Have a great one, everyone.